Okay, so I'm going to go over particle systems here. We have several different types of particle systems, and you've actually used some before, like Shatter is a particle system. We used Mr. Mercury in a previous assignment. That's a particle system, right? And we actually messed with some of those parameters that we have in a particle system, that most particle systems have anyway. We're going to go in depth, excuse me, with this, all right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a layer to attach to. So particles like solid layers. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm actually going to do a solid black here. Sometimes color makes a difference. Okay, so I have a solid black layer that does nothing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a particle system to it. Now particles live under they live under simulation, right? So these are all kind of particle effects in one way or another, right? So the main ones I'm going to be going over is Particle Systems 2 and Particle World, right? Particle Playground is one that some people like. These parameters are a little different from how everything else works. So I'm going to stay away from this one right now, but let's just do particle systems, right? So when I add particle systems to this, as you see, this is what happens. It's like a firework, right? If you look at this, we have all these parameters that we can do. Now, right now, this is chugging along because I'm recording, right? So that's not a good thing. So I am going to change the resolution of the screen down to half, right? Because I'm working in an HD setting anyway, so half is still going to be more or less full resolution here. In fact, I could probably do a quarter and it'd be full resolution. As you can see, it's still kind of chugging along, okay? And I'm having problems with RAM because I have so much going on as well as recording. But with that says particles take up a lot of memory, a lot of RAM. Okay, so this is pretty lame. What can we do here? If we open up here, we see all kinds of things we can do, like longevity. How long do we want the particles to last? Maybe 0.4 seconds, and we have a sparkler. Maybe we want to take the birth rate down to have less. Now it's really a sparkler, right? Maybe we have a producer. Maybe we want it to change the position where we want the origin to be. Right? Notice all these things can be animated too if we want to, right? And we can change out the radius of how long we want it, right? And we can also make it the Y, right? So there's all kinds of things we can do, and of course all these things can be animated. We have physics, which we've talked about, right? This starts with explosive, right? We can change it to fractal explosive, similar. Change it to twirl. Change it to twirly. Anyway, you kind of get the idea of all these things. We got vortex. We have fire. Which, boy, this really looks like fire, doesn't it? This is kind of set up to be fire with these colors and everything. Jet sideways. One that we'll use as well. All right, even though this kind of messes with the physics a little bit. Direction. Anyway, I'm just going to kick back to explosive here. Okay? So that's the types of animation we can have. And then we have these things like velocity, we have gravity, resistance, direction, things like this, right? So to change things around, we can deal with things like the velocity, right? We can have it go out more, have it go less, down like this, or we have something like that. We can change the gravity where it's going down. We can have it go up where it's like negative gravity. All right. We have zero gravity. Just kind of like a sun, right? We have resistance, which I'm going to go ahead and kick up the gravity here. So we can see what's going on with resistance. No resistance. And as we start adding resistance, as you can see, it's going to make it a little more tight. It's one way of doing things. Okay, and of course we have the direction that this is going, which kind of gives it that twirly feel that's going on. And the extra doesn't really do that much with this, right? Same thing with the inherent velocity. It doesn't really do that much here with what we have going on. Next we have the particle itself. particle type is line. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and just make it just a standard explosive that we had. Where were we? There we go. Okay, so we have lines right here. This is the type. We can have it do stars. We can have it do shaded spheres, faded spheres, faded spheres, bubbles. Right, and we can actually get into like polygons and stuff like this, which gives us this kind of pseudo 3D sprites coming at us, right? All right, so we have all these things. I am going to do a shaded sphere here, right? So we can see this a little better. Next, we have birth size and death size, where we have the size that it is when it starts. So we can take it to nothing. And then we have the death size where it ends, where we can make it really big. So we basically have this starting as nothing and then growing to really big. Right? We can change the variety of how this is going to happen. We can have the opacity about what these particles look like. And we have ways of dealing this where we can have consistent. Right? Or we can have fade out sharply. All these things fade in, fade out. Is generally how these things work, right? What else? And we can change the color. Like let's say we want the death color to be white and the birth color to be, oh, I don't know. Let's get weird and do blue. All right, so these are all particles, and these are the parameters that we will be adjusting to make them look right. Now, as we move on, as you will see, I will do all kinds of things with these particles to have them follow a path, make smoke, dust, fire, things like that. But these are just all kind of the basic parameters that we will use to make particles happen.